Hello, this is Thomas Donald Jacobs for Paperboys on Thursday. Today's topic is in America, Trump is making it harder for trans people to live. How do you feel about that, and what are your politicians like? Um, how do I feel about it? Well, I feel that my family and friends are threatened by it, as am I when I travel to the United States, and that transgender people are being scapegoated for no reason, and that Trump is the human embodiment of the comments section, and that his fan club has reached cult like levels of absurdity and hypocrisy. That's how I feel about it. My own politicians, I'm not going to go into Mississippi politicians except to say that they're pretty much what you would expect from the state that consistently comes in last in every single metric of health and well being and economic prosperity. In a word, awful. Um, but that's not surprising. What do you expect? I think that we're also the last state still flying, the flag of a group of traitorous racists, too. So, you know, Mississippi go to Mississippi. Um, what's more interesting to me currently is what's happening here in Belgium. So, until recently, there really wasn't a lot of outright public animus towards the transgender community here. But that did change um, with one right wing politician in particular and his student club back when he was a student. Um, the club was the subject of a documentary here in Belgium that appeared on the series. I think it was called PANO. I'll put the link below. It's in Dutch, but the gist is that these right wing youth groups are internationally organized, on the rise across Europe, and that they have two faces. Okay, so first you have like the public face of the group, which talks about what you would expect, what you see in the States with a lot of them. So they promote family values and whatever the local flavor of ahistorical nonsense nationalism is. And then the private face, okay, which is explicitly racist, explicitly anti woman, explicitly anti queer, explicitly anti Semitic, etc., etc. Okay. Now, in the States, they've become more open about that. And the thing here in Belgium, and I don't know, maybe people weren't prepared for it, or they just it escaped people's attention, but that private face that's discussed in the documentary wasn't actually that private. Okay, their public views were just overlooked. I think because of who they were attacking at first, and I know that because this student club is unfortunately based at my own university. And its leader really got his launch by attacking people associated with our gender and diversity program, for example, and the transgender community. And the university administration, unfortunately, did not respond in any kind of coherent fashion. Um, I think that they were hoping that if they ignored it, it would go away. And in turn, this led the group and its leader to become more emboldened. And this is something I think people really need to be more cognizant of. These kinds of right wing groups always seem to follow the same strategy: find the smallest, most misunderstood, most marginalized minority they can, get their foot in the door by attacking the group of people who have no power in society whatsoever. And when they meet little resistance, they move on to the next group, and so on and so on. And in that way, they kind of eat your society in little bites. So, how do you fight this? First, actively protect your minority populations, okay? No matter how small. um, ignoring the presence of organized groups of bigots, particularly in our modern age of social and mass media, is not going to make them go away. They will just continue to push and push and push. Second, and this is something that universities um, see it in the United States, and you can see it here in Belgium too, are prone to. Don't get sucked into debates on the right of these marginalized minorities to exist, okay? And I say that for two reasons. First, my utterly harmless existence is not an intellectual exercise or a choice. It shouldn't be debated by anyone. When you debate these groups, you're phrasing my existence as something that could be snuffed out should the debate be lost. Can't say I'm really a fan of that. That's why I would never debate one of these groups. It would just give them some kind of um, legitimacy that they don't deserve. And also, the cost of such a debate is a little too steep for me. It doesn't matter to the other side, okay? They don't actually care that much about me or even transgender people in general. We're just a way for them to get into the public space to spread the rest of their all-encompassing hateful messaging, okay? So the price on losing that, yeah, I can't afford it. So don't get sucked into debates. Also, these groups, like I just kind of indicated, they're not interested in any kind of actual debate or the assimilation of new information. This student was actually debated on national TV here in Belgium by a well-known, well-respected transgender doctor and politician who also is a member of staff at my university, at the university hospital. The student had his ass handed to him when it came to his pseudoscientific arguments, but then he went on to abandon his line of pseudoscience and fall back on his claim that he was being discriminated against as a Catholic with traditional values. The point of him doing that for him was not to engage in any kind of intellectually honest debate. It was to draw media attention, further consolidating and enlarging his fan club by providing them with a shared sense of, Christian persecution complex, and then setting up that discursive framing as the victim in all of this moving forward. Okay. Classic right wing tactics. Third, transgender individuals that are in a position to be open, they should consider being open. Okay. This incident did result in some aggressive behavior towards me in classes and, some online threats, people attempting to data mine personal information on me about my address and my marital status, the name of my partner, um, that kind of thing, and some nasty messages. I've never been secretive about being transgender since I came out. I have no intention of going stealth. For one thing, my particular field of research is exceedingly small. I would have to give that up and go into an entirely new line of work. I'd have to move. I'd have to get new friends. I'm lazy. I don't want to do any of that. I talk about gender and sexuality in my classes, both from a personal and historical point of view. And I do it mainly for two reasons. First, transgender youth need role models. Okay, I actually have had transgender students. I feel it is important for them to see somebody in their, more or less daily lives who is leading a fulfilling life. Secondly, to educate my students more generally and to try to get them to question what they think they know. That's my job as a historian. Okay. All professional historians and educators should look at their position as one of getting students to think about the status quo, to examine the things that they have been told thus far in their lives, and to begin to question whether or not that is actually true. Has it always been that way? Because that's generally the kind of attitude that people bring to the subject of history by the time they get to be about 18 or 19 years old, because that's how history is largely presented to them. Here's what happened, here's how we got how we are, in a very simple narrative style that doesn't actually look at the complexities and nuances of what occurred and question, did it have to be that way? Was it always going to be that way? That's what we need to get people to look at. And so that happens to be my job. And because of that, I'm not going to stop being open. I have both a personal and professional stake in this. And lastly, we need to continue to organize as a transgender community with the tools available to us. Hate groups are using social media and educational institutions to spread their messages internationally now in a concerted fashion, and we should act accordingly. So that was it for this week. I hope next week's topic is a little lighter. Bye.